All right, President Biden has been talking about this revamp of the Supreme Court he wants to introduce at the LBJ Library today, a few minutes from now. He's saying we are going to figure out a way to get this done. Among his remarks is apparently saying what is happening now is not normal, and it undermines the public's confidence in the court's decisions, including those impacting personal freedoms. We now stand at a breach. Louisiana Republican Senator John Kennedy on what he makes of all of this. Senator, good to have you. What do you think?
Thank you. Well, a couple of thoughts. Number one, when President Biden's Supreme Court proposal gets to Capitol Hill, in my opinion, it's as dead as Woodrow Wilson. I don't think the House will even bring it up. I don't know of anyone who's taking it that seriously. Number two, I don't think President Biden's proposal is really President Biden's proposal. I think it's Vice President Kamala Harris's proposal. When the president announced it, she immediately endorsed it enthusiastically. I think she's asked him to take the lead, so in case there's blowback, it doesn't get on her. Number three, the Biden-Harris proposal is not about the Supreme Court, in my opinion. It's about abortion. Particularly, Vice President Harris is very angry at the Supreme Court for saying abortion's not in the Constitution and sending the issue back to the people in the states. She supports a national rule, which basically says abortion on demand. A woman can have an abortion at any point, even up until the moment before birth. The Vice President, I think most Americans see abortion as the issue of abortion is trying to balance the rights of a woman and an unborn child. I think the Vice President thinks that the unborn baby has no rights, none whatsoever. She's entitled to her opinion, but I don't think that's mainstream. And the final point I'd make, Neil, this is really the Vice President's first major policy proposal, and I just think it's very strange that she decided to lead with this, given what the polls show about the Vice President. Alex Castellanos, one of the brightest political commentators I know, and he's made the point that the burden on the Vice President is to prove to the American people that she's a serious person. Margaret Thatcher didn't giggle. Golda Meir didn't giggle. When you look at the polls, fair or not, many Americans, and again, this may not be fair, but I'm just telling you what the polls show. Many Americans think that the Vice President is a little bit of a ding-dong, that she's not serious.
This ding-dong, Senator, has risen in the polls, and I'm wondering if the strategy to focus on her laugh or the former president calling her nasty and crazy really promotes that push to show she's not up to the job. Does it look petty? Does it say to judge her on this level looks like a strategy that could backfire on Republicans? By all means, get her on the issues that matter, like you've talked about abortion, to clarify what this Supreme Court push might be about. But to focus on this other stuff just looks dumb.
Well, what I was going to say, Neil, if I could finish my thought, when you look at the polls, fair or not, what the polls, the crosstabs show is that those Americans who have an opinion of the Vice President think that, number one, she's a bit of a ding-dong, and number two, that she is a member of the loon wing of the Democratic Party. She's a San Francisco
that member
Democrat.
of the loon wing, Senator, that I'm not casting aspersions either way, that member of the loon wing is now dead even with Donald Trump in one battle state ground after another. Now, I'm not saying that might last. I am saying that this loon is surging, and if the Republican approach to her is to treat her like a loon and a cackle, and she is just an empty suit, I wonder how far that'll go.
Well, I'm sorry if that offends you, Neil, but I'm just telling you what the people of America think.
I'm just telling you what the polls are showing right now. Now, if you think they're short-lived, they're not going to last, and you're okay with this approach of talking about her laugh and nasty and disrespectful and all this stuff that Donald Trump has said, you don't think part of that is going to kill you at the polls?
I'm telling you what I think the American people think right now, based on the polling that I've seen, and let me say it again. I think that fair or not, and it may upset you, but fair or not, the American people think, those who have an opinion of the vice president think that, number one, she's a little bit of a ding-dong. She's not a serious person. They've had one vegetable in chief. They don't want another. And they also think that she is a member of the loon wing of the Democratic Party. She's a San Francisco Democrat. She believes in abortion on demand. She believes that that Israel should just give the Palestinians anything that they want. She believes in an open border. She thinks criminals or cops are a bigger problem than criminals. She's proud of what she and the president did in Afghanistan. She believes in she believes in strength, our national security strength through weakness, that if we just sit down with our enemies and have a cup of hot cocoa and give them a hug, that they'll be nice to us.
I don't know if she suggested the cup of hot coffee. You know, you raised a number of very clear issues, substantive issues that could be debated. I guess all I'm saying, for all the problems and calling her a loon and all that, and I get it. I know it's political season and that happens on both sides.
I didn't call her a loon, Neil. You're putting words in my mouth. I said she's a member. She's a member of the loon wing of the Democratic Party, and there is a loon wing of the Democratic Party.
What's the difference between the loon wing and being a loon? The only reason why I'm saying it is, if that is so, and you have a lot of American people who have now taken another look at her, and maybe it's short-lived, to your point, Senator, she is running even with Donald Trump, and I'm just wondering about the approach you're taking, and it's very artful, don't get me wrong, and you raise a lot of substantive issues. It's going to come back to bite your hinds, isn't it? Aren't you concerned about that?
I'm telling you what I think the American people think. It may not be what I think, and it may not be what you think, but this is Washington.
Then what do you think the polls that shows that she's running even with Donald Trump, regardless of what either you or I think?
Well, the polls that I have seen, the most recent polls, you can't just look at the top lines, Neil. You've got to look at the crosstabs. And if you look at the crosstabs and really drill down and see what people think, let me say it again. The polling that I've seen shows that many Americans think that the vice president is not a serious person. As I said, that she's a bit of a ding-dong. And number two, that she is a member of the loon wing of the Democratic Party. She's a San Francisco Democrat. She's just like Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, except without the bartending experience. She is not mainstream, and the point I was trying to make was that by making her first policy position known on abortion, the idea that we should have a law that says you can have an abortion at any point, no questions asked, even up until the moment of birth, I think for most Americans is a loon wing position. That's just my opinion, and but that's also what the polls show.
No, you're absolutely fair game to make it. I'm just wondering how you think that will resonate with women when she is called nasty and crazy and a ding dong and all and disrespectful between you and the president. What has been said about her? I'm just wondering, do you worry how that comes across? And maybe you draw no distinction between a female candidate and a male one, then that's fair game. But that this could hurt you with female voters with these type of comments.
Well, let me say it again.
Sure.
The vice president is a candidate for president of the United States. I don't care about her gender, Neil. Maybe you do, but I don't. I don't care about her race. I care about her competence.
Then why call her a ding-dong?
And I'm telling you what the polling shows. I'm telling you what the polling shows. And it does. And I'll be glad to sit down with you and walk you through the polls.
Please do, because I never know when it's constructive to call people names, Senator. On the left or the right. But
I'm sorry if it hurts your feelings, but let me say it again.
Senator, you keep bringing it back to my feelings. My feelings matter a little. All I'm telling you is if you think you can gain this November calling people names, I don't know how far that goes, left or right, but we'll see. It's still early, to your point.
Your feelings seem to me like they matter to you a lot, Neil, and I'm trying to be objective here. Let me say it again.
Are you really being objective, Senator? I just think you've
think
got
so.
a bash-a-thon, a name-calling at her. If you call that being objective, I don't know. But, Senator, I do want to thank you for coming.
Well, thank you for having me, Neil. I hope you have a better day.